Resident Evil.
The cheesy one.
The good one.
It is fantastic.
So yes, in case you guys hadn't guessed, tonight on this particular episode of Synergy Bonus.
Synergy Bonus.
The drinking part comes before the gaming part. That's anyhow. We're tackling
Resident Evil.
what many consider the original survival horror game, and
Even though it came after, actually, Alone in the Dark.
and definitely the game that coined the phrase
Survival horror.
Which, even though Alone in the Dark actually coined that first.
they can't take cues at all. Resident Evil, premiering on the original PlayStation in March of 1996.
Taking place in the far future of 1998.
Far-flung future, apparently. Originally known as Biohazard in Japan.
Yep.
So this was put up by Capcom back when we used to love them for PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Windows, of all things. It was Capcom's best-selling debut game ever, selling 8.5 million copies total.
Yeah.
At the time, it was cutting-edge graphics and, sadly, cutting-edge acting for a video game.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
It hasn't aged particularly.
No.
It hadn't aged by the time the sequel came out.
It's still considered one of the best retro games out there you can play, but it definitely shows its age in liver spots and false teeth. And
I vary my hips.
it's late for its bridge game.
It really is. So, the original Resident Evil had...
Directed by Shinji
Mikami.
Mikami. Written by Kenichi Iwao and Yasuyuki Saga. I don't know.
This version of Resident Evil has had several releases.
Several releases or two.
The original cut, the director's cut, the
Two reboots, if you
remake.
prefer. Two
Okay.
reboots.
Okay. It had
One
the
on
original.
GameCube and one on the DS.
Wait, hold on.
port.
The original. It had
Director's
the
cut.
director's cut. It had the DualShock director's cut edition. It had the DS version, and then it had the remake,
Which
and
has
then
had a subsequent remake.
the HD remake.
Capcom never gets tired of beating an undead horse.
That's very
or dog in this case.
Very correct.
Music composed by Makoto Tomozawa and Koichi Kirokari and Masumi Udea. It's a wonderful haunting kind of track. Really.
Yes, and they even use some classical pieces like Moonlight
Moonlight
Sonata.
Sonata,
It's the music and the game. It works. It works so well.
It's very thematic. It's very memorable. It fits. Interestingly enough, the game is actually a remake in and of itself. It's a reimagining of one of the producers, Takuro Fujiwara's earlier game, Sweet Home, 1989.
It was an old, almost Friday the 13th era survival horror game for the regular Nintendo.
Only without the crazy pastel vomit colors and
Only with all the shit that made that game bad. But it's basically a retelling.
freaking
Or a love story, too, which is actually
Punch-Out
even further...
mechanics and-
That game was based on either a movie or a book that came out in Japan.
I don't know, I didn't bother researching it that much. But
So, the original Resident Evil is what we're going to be talking about rather than the whole series. And we might touch on the remake because it is the same game, just
prettier.
pretty.
And some sequence added in.
But basically, you've got your STARS team, which is basically just a
Special Tactics and Rescue, they're basically a SWAT team.
Yeah. They're sent in to investigate these murders that have been happening where people were apparently eaten. And
That was the original. It's since been redacted to that there was a train crash involving a classified...
0 doesn't count. Moving.
Okay.
Although I wonder if that wasn't an homage to the Hunter the Reckoning video game by White Wolf Publishing, which begins with your train crashing and you having to find enough people, survivors in the town.
Okay, Ovelli, do you
fix
want
the
to be
train.
in the podcast?
More on that in a different video.
So, you get stranded there because your faithful helicopter pilot is a chicken shit.
No! Don't go!
His actual call sign
Chicken
is
Heart.
Chicken Heart.
And
He's a coward.
he flees when there's a first sense of trouble. And there is trouble almost immediately when they land
As you do in a
because
horror film.
they find their compatriot's helicopter and a dog attacks them.
And kills one of their members.
Yep, after finding a hand attached to a gun, and that's about it. So they run and go to a house.
At what point did they find the Lochnar?
And
The Lochnar is about to be inserted up your ass.
based on the opening
Brazzers.
FMV cinematic, you have your main characters Chris and Barry and Jill and Wesker all running for the house, and depending on which character you can choose, because you can choose one of two, whichever character you choose, someone is missing, which doesn't make any sense based on that cinematic. So, this game coined the term survival horror. It's horror themed because there are zombies.
And other things.
Among other horror elements,
Yes.
including infrasound mixed into the music and
Jump scares.
Jump scares. But the
Fucking dog breaking through that window every
Yes.
damn time.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I have since programmed my mind.
It
And
still
then it
gets
doesn't
me.
do it the one time I expected
Yep.
it to.
But unlike the sort of proto-survival horror games up to this point, we mentioned Friday the 13th along the way, which focused on, a predictable kind of scare and fighting the boss of the monster. They chose this time to focus a little more on puzzles and item management.
Puzzles, item management. There are several boss fights which are kind of iconic at this point. But before
The shark.
we go into that here,
So before or after we jumped it?
You don't jump it.
the
actually.
survival elements, like Trev said, there's puzzles. But you also have limited inventory space, limited ammo, limited saves. Everything about this game is limited.
Limited
And
healing items.
the first time you go through this
Forcing you to
game,
think your way through it rather than jump in everything guns
Running
blazing
down.
like later entrants in the series.
and if the first time you're playing through it, it's going to be a little difficult. Playthroughs after playthrough, yeah, you're going to have surplus of everything because you've kind of figured out
everything
where
out.
things are, how to minimize your output but maximize your effectivity.
Getting good with the knife.
Yep. But as Trav said, there's puzzles, and some puzzles are okay, it's just a puzzle. But there's other puzzles that if you F this up, you're dead. Like, you are dead.
Or you simply can't progress in the game, and that's it. Revert to save.
And some of them actually will reset when you leave the room and come back in, though.
Yep. The only difference mechanically between the original and the remake are the addition of... I shouldn't even say mechanically.
The defensive weapons.
The
they've
defensive
added
weapons.
new areas, and as a result, you can get access to some weapons earlier, some weapons later, a couple of extra healing items, and fucking red Crimson
Heads. Basically...
And Lisa Trevor.
And Lisa Trevor. But the Crimson Head, in the original game, if you were to kill a zombie, it's dead. In the remake, if you kill a zombie and don't blow its head off...
Or light it on
There's a chance
fire.
to come back, or you have to either blow its head off or light it on fire.
Which actually deals more with, they expanded on this later in the series, the mutagenic properties of the virus involved, where reanimating as a zombie is just the first stage. It can continue mutations the more trauma is exposed to the host.
Hence the term biohazard being a far more appropriate title for this game.
Because it is a bioorganic weapon. So
And as you are... Your main thing is you're looking for your compatriots now. And as you
to get
go,
the
you
hell out.
start to unravel this conspiracy, actually.
Would you draw a parallel with some of the puzzles to, like, say, Maniac Mansion, kind of?
Kind of. Actually, kind of, yes. In fact, I mean, it takes place in a mansion.
Hence my line of thinking.
Yep. But as...
Minus the disembodied tentacles.
No.
Oh.
But as Greg was saying, there are
I've seen enough anime to know where that goes.
some
I've read enough
bosses.
Sojin to know where that goes.
There are some bosses that, like I mentioned, were iconic. and
Shark, Plant 1 4...
Plant 47, I think
47,
it is, or 42. I don't remember.
Tyrant.
But as he said, more trauma and whatnot. So you've got this giant killer plant. You've got a shark named Neptune. What else?
It's named based off the classification file that it was given for research.
Did they find it in the deep blue sea?
It's a great one.
Deepest blue is my head. Oh, not a Mako.
Oh,
There's
let's see. Yawn.
There's the snake, and then Tyrant. And then if you're playing the remake, Lisa Trevor, which is like a proto-tyrant.
No, Proto-Tyrant was in the game you just said doesn't count.
It was a type of tyrant.
Yeah. She was a...
Really,
actually, Lisa Trevor was a Proto-Nemesis. They introduced the Nemesis parasite to her.
That sounds like a lot of stuff that was shoved in after there'd been several sequels.
Yes. Part of the remake.
Yep.
But we're not talking about the remakes. We're talking about the original.
Like we're just touching on the remake there.
Okay. You've touched them, and now they've shown the police on the bear where
exactly they did.
Now, thankfully, the police they showed were Star's Bravo team, and they're all dead.
Now, the puzzles are really clever in this game, and some of it is more of a, hey, you gotta find this gem with this symbol on it and jam it in this thing. That's basically a fetch quest.
Or sometimes you get the item and you have to go into 3D view mode and rotate. And go,
the key here. It's not even a
it's
key. It's a symbol
underneath.
But if you rotate, there's a button. Press the button. Oh, it's a key.
You got a potted plant. There's a key taped to the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that this game suffered from is their poor acting. Jill sandwiches.
Don't open that door. Chris is our partner.
I don't know. I feel like if I Google Jill sandwich, I'm going to have an interesting evening.
Or you'll find actually a good place on to get food.
I doubt that. I doubt that a lot.
Let's make a sandwich starring Jill, Barry, and Chris.
Ooh.
But yeah, the voice acting is atrocious.
It's got a narm charm to me. It's just that I'm like, this is horrible.
I
have so many bad.
Barry Burton, the voice actor for Barry Burton is the worst though in the game. Just period.
I got a can of fizz to mellow and yellow those freaks.
But this game also had tank controls, which
I got good at.
I got good at too.
Which is why I hated RE4 when they changed the control screen.
And
fuck you, Alex. There's a big complaint about RE4, but we'll talk about that in the RE4 video.
So, real quick, going to the remake, they kept the tank controls, except for the remake, HD remake, where they had the tank controls, but you could switch it to normal stuff, and it threw me off when I played it. So it's whatever. If you weren't good at tank controls, you were gonna fight the controller the whole time. There was no getting around that.
Or get good.
I hate that mentality.
Yeah, but it's the whole thing where after playing like 3 or 4 Resident Evils, you just get to that point where, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, and I've learned to work around it.
There's learning the controller, and then there's
get good.
I feel like at some point in time we should address get good. Because
I get good. Like, a lot of stuff, yeah.
In this case, less get good, more of you'll eventually get used to, okay,
and
this is what I have to work at.
That's what getting good is, however.
Not in today's mindset. Get good means is like, oh, you don't know how to beat this? Get good.
Take the time to go learn the game. This will be a separate thing because we're going to go back and forth. Go back to talking about.
I don't know. I like the game.
Oh
yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
You were discussing tank controls.
Tank controls, yes. So like
you have to be pushing in one direction, and then
taint controls is a different thing altogether.
You have to push in one direction, then you're going to start rotating left or right to go in.
And like, okay, left on the controller will mean your character, whatever direction he's facing, will turn left. So if you're facing down and you press left, your character's going to go left, so it's going to look right on the screen. But from the character perspective, it's going left.
The problem is when you get the constant angle shifts of going into a room.
Which is the next problem.
Shinji Mikami.
Fixed camera angles.
The next one problem in this game.
I said there's a couple problems. Okay. But the fixed camera angles. As nice as they are to promote suspense.
I feel like you could have done a bullet list. The one problem with...
the one that immediately comes to mind is the one doorway by the save room at the bottom of the stairwell, where if you come through from the other side, you're just looking down the corridor at you, at the door. You have no clue what's beyond that. So the moment you walk forward...
Well, what's the thing too? You had to hear
You had the shades of Sonic Escape from the City there, Batman.
And the Crash Bandicoot stages where you're running towards the screen.
Game designers, running towards the screen is always a bad idea. Just
look
don't
up
do
the
it.
picture so I can show Trev.
And the thing is, this game, you almost had to play with the sound on because
And
you gotta hear
betide you if you had mono.
You gotta hear like the
the
And I don't mean the
shuffling
drum,
and the
the-
light groanings and whatnot. And I'm going to go to the remake
zombies
here.
or old folks' home.
A little both. One thing that the remake touched on really well with the fixed camera angles and stuff is there was one corner where I turned and you could see outside. By outside, I mean you couldn't see outside, but you could see like the shadows from outside. And it was lightning or something, and then it looked like a figure there, and then I see the hand move. I'm like, I know something's out there trying to get in.
Very Sam Raimi right there. Yeah.
Like it does eventually come in later on, but you don't get that in the original. I mean, I think the zombie does come in through there, but like that visual is just not there.
Yeah.
And this game did what a remake should do. It improved everything that should have been improved without changing the core.
Please
Here's
take
an
notes.
example for Trav.
Yeah.
You're going to be walking down that way. You have no clue what's there until you get close.
And we'll put this up too,
Yeah.
so you can see
Naturally.
it.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't have a lot to really say about this. The story is kind of predictable. I mean,
It's early video game horror fare, so I'm guessing it's
There-
very predictable.
there are multiple endings.
I can't imagine there are a whole bunch of twists at the end of this that are going to
No.
be terribly surprising.
They've expanded and twisted stuff through retcons, but
Depending on who you're playing,
Even with, particularly with the modern mindset where these sort of twists and endings have been out there for a while and the series just had a chance to build on it, I doubt
there's
anybody's gonna be
4
surprised by
technically,
this.
or no, there's more than 4. There's 5 technically, 6 endings.
there's an ending where the house doesn't explode.
Yep.
7 if you count game over.
Yeah, 7, that's right. So
So, anyways,
Chris has escape normally
Okay.
with Jill. Escape normally without Jill. Escape.
Escape
Chris has
crab
4.
walking.
okay, everyone has several endings because you can escape by yourself, you can
Escape
escape
with
with
your
one
partner.
or the other partner, or both.
So there's 3. And then there's also failing to set the self-destruct system, which is 4. So, not counting game over, there's a total of 9 endings.
Now, here's what I've done sometimes because Rebecca Chambers pisses me off as a character. And I think she just pisses off the entire internet as a character. She's just kind of shoved in there. And
Rebecca
she's like,
Chambers hate down below, please.
It actually makes sense and it's expanded upon in Resident Evil 2. Deliberately, spoiler, Wesker was staffing Bravo team with shitty people because he knew they were going to go in and he wanted to get combat data.
That's why.
Obligatory affirmative action joke.
That's why in Resident Evil 2 in your police station, if you search Rebecca's picture 50 times, or
Or
the star's
Wesker's
picture,
desk 50
you get a
times.
picture of Rebecca. It's-
Yep,
it's
in
creepy.
her high
That's
school
outfit.
gym outfit.
50 times? That's,
Yes.
That's one heck of an Easter egg.
Anyways,
But he deliberately hired in someone
So-
who was 18 to work on a SWAT team
Because
so
we
she
need
could get
fan
killed.
service. Oh.
she's not even fan service.
No, she's not.
So if I'm playing as Chris, I have Rebecca, and then I can go rescue Jill. And if I'm just feeling,
I wanted cheesecake.
just rather salty at the time, because salty is a fun word to use nowadays.
I hope it
Better.
goes the way of Bay. real
Better.
quick.
I hope so too. Anyways, when you fight the tyrant the first time, he drops him. Then you fight him the second time. Brad will drop down
The rocket.
the rocket launcher, which was instant kill tyrant. Tyrant is my
Until
favorite
the remake.
favorite creature in this game aside from Nemesis. He's got this giant claw.
It also has a
And
second
like
part.
he does this thing where he goes down like a football player to charge, and he'll just go and just impale one of your people or you. I just kind of step out of the way, and up Rebecca's dead. Throws her to the ground in a bloody mess. Turns to Jill, does the same thing, and then I kill Tyrant, and then I get that cutscene in the plane where he's like, "I fucked up." I like that ending.
Whereas normally when that happens, that's the point where, okay, boom, and then he stops mid-stride when you shoot him with the magnum.
And then he
just
charges you.
looks at you.
I gotta say, though,
Okay, running time.
because the controls are so
Baby strafe.
tanky
Strafe,
and
It's
everything,
run.
it's a very clunky fight.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
In the
and the
remake-
problem is there are fixed camera angles in the fight, so sometimes you can't see where Tyrant is.
They say cool, I say artificial difficulty.
It is artificial difficulty. For an already difficult thing.
And then
Tyrant probably has got 2 hits on you and you're done.
Yeah.
In the remake, however, that rocket launcher isn't an instant kill.
No, it's an
because-
instant kill.
No, he can strafe the fucking rocket.
Oh, but if he gets
Yeah.
hit with the
Oh, yeah.
rocket, it's instant kill. I mean,
But there actually, I've seen it had runs through where he just sidesteps the rocket and then
he
kills
does
him.
it with normal shots,
Oh, yeah.
too.
I wonder, once again, something to talk about later. Spoiler again for a decade-old game. If you've never gotten to the end of Hunter the Reckoning, you take a rocket launcher, and it's this giant vampire who's turned into a creature of living darkness because he's a Lasombra, and you rocket launcher the shit out of a boarded-up window.
Let the sunlight in.
sunlight in to dispel him. I wonder if that's an homage.
Maybe. I don't know.
One of the things I do like about the older one is the weapons were somewhat different because they updated some of them for the remake. Like, the original revolver was just a fucking Colt Python. It was a 357. The actual rocket launcher in the original release of the game was the M72 flash launcher, which was a quad-barrel shoulder-fired rocket launcher, which is why you had 4 shots.
Can you guess which one of us likes Shadowrun?
Which one of us likes guns?
You know what else? Barry Burton in this game likes guns. Are you going to be okay, Barry?
I've got this. To quote in Resident Evil Revelations 2, "My gun is my partner. My bullets are my backup."
Barry Burton has a hard-on for firearms.
He's actually like an NRA member.
He is.
And it's every stereotype about the gun-loving cop.
Real quick, though, you mentioned something about the rocket launcher with the quad rocket launcher. In Resident Evil 2, it's the standard tube, just the one tube.
Yep.
In 3, it goes back to the quad launcher. I wonder why.
Because you're going back to the STARS
Oh,
team.
yeah, and Barry's the one that drops it,
So
isn't
he would have access
yeah.
to their inventory. And also, Barry's the one responsible for their inventory.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, this game came out, and like Trav said, it kind of like paved the way for future survival horror games and whatnot. And even
The reason we have like Silent Hills and so on is
Yeah.
because of this game.
I'm thinking even like Parasite
Not Silent
Eve.
Hills. Silent Hills.
Silent Hills got canceled.
Fuck you, Konami, you pachinko game making fucks.
Yep.
We're gonna let Greg have a rant on Konami one of these days,
One of
like
these
a
days. We're
complete
just gonna
laundry list, unload on them.
Greg's top 10 reasons that Konami are pachinko making motherfuckers.
We shall forsake our gaming companies.
We already have.
We already have. He's forsaken Capcom. You've forsaken
Square
Konami.
and Konami's
Square.
just. But the thing with Square is you can see they
I'm
want
okay.
to try.
My company was Rare, and they just got bought up and shelved by Microsoft.
At least Square knows they want to make good games. They just haven't. They're kind of starting to.
15 was okay.
15 was a some of their new
Bravely
games.
Default.
Some okay.
Octopath. Or
We're gonna talk about Square. We're gonna just take a time to talk about the companies now. Not now, but
At least until the cease and desist orders start.
I really
In
don't
which
have
case,
much else to
Mulan
say
love it.
about Resident Evil, the original. I mean,
It's Narm Charm. I love it
It's-
for all
it's
the
very
bad
campy.
reasons.
It's super retro.
if you want a little more serious tone to it,
Play the remake.
the remake. But if you want some terrible acting,
Awful camp.
oh my god,
Delightfully
I didn't
campy.
even mention this. Like, it's a mansion. When you first walk into that mansion, it's lit up like the freaking sun. In the remake, no, it's an old mansion. It's dark and whatnot.
It's dark. It's
Like,
Actually,
play
some
the
of-
two back to back. It's an experience.
Some things I hadn't noticed until way later on. Like, initially, there's not very much difference between playing Chris and Jill. Chris has a little bit more hit points than Jill does.
And Jill has more inventory space.
Which is why one of my old and high school jokes was, Chris is captain, my mom sewed my pants pockets together. However, it turns out there is an added effect to play Chris. He has a higher rate of just instantly scoring a headshot. Chris is ex-military, so he's trained as a better marksman.
Superior marksman skill.
But also, Jill, on the other hand, gets access to a better weapon than Chris. She gets the grenade launcher, whereas he has to deal with a pistol and a shotgun the whole game. So Chris is kind of the harder mode.
I like them both. I really do. But yeah.
The question is, do you like walks through the mountain or the
a
woods,
hike.
or hikes through the woods, or a mountain climb?
And that, I mean, and actually, I don't think Trev ever really played Resident Evil.
Not terribly a lot.
No.
Was pretty much PlayStation exclusive, and
Until the GameCube era.
yeah, and I was a super
Purist.
Nintendo purist and fanboy for a
Squaresoft jumped ship, and I followed.
I played basically everything. So
I followed where Squaresoft went.
And by the time it came out on the GameCube, I'd already written it off as just more PlayStation crap. So,
well, if you have any thoughts on Resident Evil, the remake, the original,
Stars.
let us know in the
if
comments.
you want to talk about the movie, go to our other channel.
If you want to go and talk about the movie, I can think of a list of places for you to talk about that. The first one is in hell.
The second, of course, being Detroit.
Oh, we already said hell. But wait, no, actually, Detroit is worse than hell.
Have a good night.
Good night and good gaming.
Resident Evil.